Hey everybody, this is Rich and you're with Beekeeping with Rich, and I need to do some extraction today. I'm a foundationless beekeeper. That does not mean that I only do crush and strain. I have two different ways that I can use my little 2-frame extractor here to extract honeycomb, so that I have some emptied combs that I can put back on the hives immediately for them to A, clean up, and B, if they feel like it, they can start refilling with honey. This time of year they probably aren't going to be refilling it with honey because we're going into our spring dearth, but this will give them a little boost. Our summer dearth, sorry. It'll give them a little boost anyway after I've swiped some honey. Understand, I have no option here but to swipe some honey. The hives that this came off of are going bye-bye. Later today, they're being sent off to a new home. But to keep them from wanting to swarm before, I had to put a second story on them. And if I make a little honey doing that, hey, good for me. So now I'm going to start extracting the combs here. I am in transition. Some of my combs are completely unwired, and those combs I will demonstrate with my little unpatented chicken wire comb holders and how they work. And the ones that are wired, well, they'll just go straight in probably. So let's get started. Presumably a few minutes ago you were watching a video of me driving the bees out of this with my homemade turbo fume board. Once you take the top off and leave it off for a couple of minutes, a couple of bees still come up, but not many. Not enough to be a problem anyway. So let's get started. I won't know what I got here until I take it out. So here we have a comb that does not have any wires on it, which is good. It means I'll be able to demonstrate that. Now, here's the thing about foundationless. You guys who do it with foundation, well, you got it easy. You got a midrib down the center here. They build off both sides. Hopefully they build slightly fat of it. You slice it with the knife and you're good to go. When you're foundationless, they're free to do it all over the place. When I pass a knife on this side of the frame, I'm barely going to catch anything. And yes, they make this pricker thing, but it's way too wide to get into most of the little nooks and crannies and curves that get into this. So rather than use the pricker, most of the time I just use a fork and tease the tops off of them. So let's get started. On this side we have my crush and strain bucket, which is where I do my prep work. There is the top bucket here is full of holes. Oh, there's a crossbar here. In case you haven't seen that video, there's a steel crossbar on the top of this bucket. The bottom of this bucket is full of holes. Underneath here, the ring with a cutout, of course, holds it up off. I do a 5-gallon paint insert in there. The honey drips down. Most of the large material stays up here. Smaller material gets caught by that 1200 mesh screen down there. And whatever's below that, well, that's just usually pretty clean honey. It'll get, see how I only got a little bit on that side? On this side, because they built out some, I'll get a whole lot more. But you really don't want to do this over the extractor because you don't want all these sheets to get caught up in the bottom. I've done it. It's a mess. So now you take a look. See what I mean when I say that that other pricker is just too big for this kind of work? I guess I should turn this direction so you guys can see it. Well, I'm just ripping the tops, the jar lids off of the individual honey cells so that when it spins, it can spin out.
Remember, people who watch this may not have a clue.
Yeah. Well, the individual cells are like jars, and they've got lids on them, and you have to rip those lids off. Yep, I knew there were a few bees in here. Okay, so since this one doesn't have, well, it does have some pretty good attachments down here. It's not enough. So you're going to want to pop that on there like that. Most of the centrifugal force is down along this bottom edge. And the reason that I don't make this thing lap over the top or go all the way to the edges is because it makes it difficult to insert into the two-frame extractor here.
Your elastic needs to be fixed on the front.
Okay.
It's caught. And at the top it's caught now too.
Get it all the way on there. Okay. So, okay. So, actually, I'm going to try to just leave it like this and not use. Oh, why do I have a piece of wood on that? Oh, okay, the spacer. It's a very light, almost a non-existent weight piece of foam, and I will oftentimes slide that in here to keep them directly upright. With the frame on here, no, that's really not going to work. There is a line on the extractor here that supports that, so in order to keep that supported, I need to slide this down in. There we go. Now, my medium frames can be used in this deep body extractor. I wish there was a unit for indexing that better, but it is what it is. Let's see what the next one gives us. Okay, so the next one has a wiring in it. So I won't need to, well, all I do is look here. If I see this here, I know I have a wire running down here. And in this case, this used to be a deep frame that used to be wired, so there's a wire rather close to the bottom here. I don't know if you can zoom in on that. They've built up to and attached it to the wire right where my thumb is. Okay, so I don't need to worry about putting this one in a cage. I just need to slice it all off. And again, as you can see, foundationless. It just seems however I turn it, dear. It's not the right way for you there. Unlike the people who use foundation, yes, there are difficulties here. Nice thing about doing this is that next year, when I reuse these frames, they will be much more likely to build me nice straight honeycomb in them instead of in and out, because I've carved away everything that isn't a necessity here.
But you can explain to people you use the wax.
Oh yes. Why am I bothering to do this? Well, it's because I want to continue to reuse these. When the bees have cleaned these up and straightened them up after I put them back in the hive, I will take them out again. I will put them in the freezer for a week, and then, since I don't have enough space in the freezer to just leave them there, I will take them out and put them in the side of a cardboard box that is a good size to fit them. Wrap that at the top of that cardboard box. I put a little bag of naphtha crystals, and then I pull a plastic bag up over the whole thing in order to keep the wax moths and other things out of them. Freezing them ahead of time kills any wax moth larvae and any small beetle larvae and anything else. And that way, next spring, I can get a jump on spring.
Did you get both sides?
Nope, no, sorry. Yep, no, as I just turned it, I just saw that.
And sometimes you keep the wax.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean when you say wax, dear. Do I sometimes keep the comb?
Yeah.
That's what I'm
bees to
talking
use, but
about.
for us to use.
Oh, well, obviously the cappings come to us, and any of these frames that do not have wires in them, if I had too many of them, then I would just take some of them and go ahead and crush and strain them, recover the wax, and then wire the frames. But as long as the frames are looking good and they're not too dark and nasty and everything else, the comb, I should say, in the frames, as long as it's not too dark and nasty,
that's really nice comb.
it's beautiful comb here, then I will want to keep reusing it because it gives the bees such a leg up and saves so much energy, because it takes about 7 times as much energy to make a pound of comb as it does to make a pound of honey. And energy is nectar. I mean, there's just no way around it. Everything's a trade-off. But I will slowly want to stop having to use those chicken wire cages and all that other stuff. I want the comb to be strong on its own. Now, could a commercial beekeeper do any of this? No, of course not. This is for the backyard beekeeper who does, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 at a time. I put some of the frames from these 2 supers back into other hives already where I had space for it. Now, again, when you're turning foundationless frames like this, don't get in a frenzy. Start off turning slow. So you get, 60%, 70% of the honey out, then reverse them. Do the same thing on the other side, and then speed up.
Can't you just crank the other side?
No, dear, not really. Oh, can't you just crank the other direction? No, because either way you crank, you're throwing it out. So only the side that is on the outside is being discharged of its honey. The inside, whichever way you crank, it makes no difference, and cranking in opposite directions doesn't do anything differently. Well, my wife is asking, how do I know when I'm done? Well, I'm not done, but I know. Here, come in and take a shot straight down. You see how there's a nice ring of honey around the bottom? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's not all that I can get from cranking this side, but it's all I'm going to get right now. I'm going to flip them around. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then when they're lighter, I'll speed it up some because I don't want anything to discharge. Go away. Turn it around. Put it back in. Oh, that could have been better. There we go. Okay. Honey is slippery. Okay. This is slow. I'll tell you to come in and take a shot at the top. However, I will do a disclaimer first. There is a strobing effect here which may affect some viewers. So go ahead and come in and take a shot down the top if you want, dear. I will in a moment, but I will direct your attention to the fact that there's a whole lot more honey in the bottom now than there was when you did that a couple of minutes ago.
Oh, yes, there is, but it's not higher than the honey gate.
No, not yet. Good heavens.
How long does it take to get higher, and how much can the bucket hold before you have to drain it?
The bucket, the question she just asked is, how long before this is filled up as high as I can fill it, and how much is that? And well, when do I have to stop? I have to drain this when the amount of honey in there gets up to the bottom of the revolving table, which is about this much. And that's well within the range of the honey gate on the side. Okay, now we're going to go faster. And we don't have feel-o-vision. If you could feel what I feel right now, you would know that there was so much less resistance going on at the moment. You just know when the time comes to reverse everything again. I'm about done with these two. Yep. So there you go. Foundationless frame.
Look at it. Oh, they do look empty. Point out that they look empty.
My wife is commenting that they look empty. Yes, you take a look right over here. Look how empty they look.
They do look empty.
Almost like I knew what I was doing.
I'll only say almost.
Not that she will ever admit to that.
Almost.
Now I still feel a little bit of weight in this one. But it may just be because it's much darker comb, denser, older comb.
You have the wood on the side. It weighs more.
Not much. But here we have a comb that had no wire on it, and it's perfectly intact. Let me disassemble this thing. There. Had I tried this without that wire on there. Most likely either in this corner or in this corner it would have broken free, flung to the side, probably caught in and kind of ripped away. I had that experience quite a few times. See, looks like I didn't slide this back and forth as much as I should have. Well, everything looks broken up. Like I say, I can feel a little bit more weight in there.
If you turn it over and shake, will the honey fall out?
No.
Say that.
My wife just asked me if I turned it over and shook it, would the honey fall out? And I said no. If you turned it over, set it somewhere and left it for a couple hours, some honey would eventually drip out, but actually mostly the surface tension here would hold most of it in place. I think that's going to happen. I'll throw this one in here for just a second. Tipped on edge for a slow turn with very little weight in here at the moment. Because obviously if you don't have two frames in here, it unbalances. If I turn it slowly with no unbalance, I might get a little something out of what I just scratched. Not going to worry about it too much. Why should I want to deprive the bees? Yeah. Not going to deprive the bees of their goodies. And to be clear, it's other colonies which will be benefiting from this. The colonies that are leaving aren't going to see any of this honey again. Their new owner will have to feed them.
So before you start this again, because you're going to keep doing this process, why don't you just tip this up and show them how the honey gate works in the jar, and then we'll be done.
My wife wants me to show you how a honey gate works. All right.
Only with those two pieces of wood.
Hmm. And I tip this forward.
And there you have it.
Okay. If I was doing this the way I always do it, I would get this full up. Then I would pour all this through a mesh strainer, as I will do. We won't have all the little bits here in the top like we do now when this is actually processed to be used. It'll be poured through a very fine mesh and to another bucket that also has a honey gate on it, and it will be poured from there.
But that's basically how it works.
But that's basically how it works. This is just so you guys don't get bored watching me do this over and over and over again. You saw me extract a frame with wires. You saw me extract a frame that doesn't have wires yet, and I use the chicken mesh on the outside. So that'll do it. Be sure to like and subscribe. This is Rich. This has been Beekeeping with Rich, extracting foundationless comb other than by crush and strain, so that you can reuse the comb and the bees can benefit. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.